Hey, what's up guys? OpTic Ashes here, and today is Monday, so that means Ask Ashes is today. We are on episode 9. We missed last week because of the travel for MLG Columbus Invitational, but we're back. We are here with some questions. I've got about 20 plus whatever were in the comments from the last video, so let's go ahead and get into these. The first 6 are going to be anonymous questions, and then after that, I'll obviously read your Twitter handle. Question number 1. If you had a choice, would you be a coach still or a player for Gears of War? I would definitely still be a coach. The stress that goes into being a player is something that I just don't want to deal with at this point in my life. Obviously, there's a lot of stress that goes into being a coach, right? But like the players feel an immense amount of pressure, and that's kind of where my job comes from, because my goal is to make sure that that pressure is as minimal as possible and doesn't have an effect on their play, as well as all the other ththings I do. It's just, you know, an added list to the tasks. Or task to the lists. But yeah, I would rather be a coach. Question number 2, how are you guys so dominant? Talent, hunger, the right winning formula in terms of players and coach, and friendship. And friendship, I mean a lot of chemistry and synergy within the team, because we are all friends outside of the game. Question number 3, what is it like coaching behind the Gears of War team? Do you keep time on respawning weapons? What kind of verbal hype do you contribute? It's not really so much as keeping timers. In fact, only against Revenge at the Invitational I kept timers. Other than that, I just said screw it to the timers, to be honest with you. But in terms of verbal hype, like I make sure that they stay focused. I make sure that when they get hyped, when the round starts, you know, they're dialing it back in and pushing that energy onto the gameplay rather than just, you know, yelling at the other team, because they do need to focus. They do have a job, and it's to win right there in that moment. So my job is to make sure that they stay focused and that everything is communicated effectively, at least while I'm standing behind them at a LAN event. Question number 4, how did it feel to win your first championship under OpTic? It felt great. I was so excited that we won the first event for Gears of War 4, and we were able to bring home a win under the Green Wall banner and bring home a win for you guys, the fans and the supporters, and everybody who's in OpTic. It felt amazing. Question number 5, what is the best way to break into the pro scene? Honestly, man, like there's a lot that you can say and break down into what makes people good players, and there's a lot of things that some players don't do that can make them even better players. But honestly, just breaking into the pro scene, it's grinding and make a name for yourself. So be in scrimmages, be in every tournament you can enter, go to LAN events, even if it's it could be a deficit for you. It doesn't make financial sense, but if you are in the position where you can travel and you can do that stuff, do it, because it makes a name for yourself. And if you play well and you go to those things, people will tie those two together, and your name will come up when the team is looking for a player. Question number 6, will you coach me? I cannot. The best thing I can say to you is watch my YouTube videos. I do a lot of coaching content on there. I put a lot of coaching content on there, and yeah, that's your best bet. But other than that, I'm really busy with my current responsibilities, so I apologize. All right, question number 7 comes from @Mario Valentine or Valentin54, who asks, if you can coach any of the OpTic teams for fun, which one and why? I would probably coach the Call of Duty team, because I feel like it'd be so cool to be brought into such a talented team and maybe help be that influential reason as to why they can actually, like, you know, bring home a championship next year. I think that would be like a really great feeling, because they're so close. They're so close there every year, and I feel like I can help them just push them over that edge and you know, make that team, that specific team, close out a season with the same success that they've had the entire season. Question number 8 comes from SimsyLS. You're trapped on an island with a mermaid. Would you rather be top half fish or bottom half fish? I'm gonna have to say bottom half fish, because then she's gonna be a better swimmer, and we can get to somewhere that's not that island. Question number 9 comes from @Master_Crimson, who asks, should weapon sliding come back? I don't think so. A lot of people complained about it. It wasn't really a thing on LAN. I think personally that it was a skill gap, like another reason why some people were better than other people, but I can see the argument as for why it shouldn't come back, and so I'm fine with how the game is currently. Question number 10, @WeaselDspec asks, what is the best and worst thing a team can do when the match starts going bad? The worst thing you guys can do is shut off mentally and stop communicating or argue, because then you might as well just leave the game. You're not going to do anything successful. The best thing you can do is save any discussions or comments you have till after the match and leave everything that's happened from that point and backwards leave it in the past and focus on the next round. Take things one round at a time and work your way up from there. Question number 11 comes from @Dankiness, who asks, why is the whole Gears team verified and you ain't? Question number 12 comes from @BearTactics, who asks, how'd you get into Gears competitive? I got brought into Gears competitive back in Gears of War 1, playing game battles matches with a good friend of mine, Karills, who now plays for Orbit. He kind of got me involved, and then we went our separate ways, and I failed pretty much as a competitor, but I moved on to League of Legends around when Gears of War 3 came out, and around the end of Gears of War 3, beginning of Gears of War UE, I got back involved into Gears of War as a manager, and then from there into coaching. Question number 13 comes from @Variant, who asks, how did you feel going into Columbus? This was actually the most confident I've been going into a LAN event. I felt like, and I think I said it on stream, that I didn't want to jinx us, but I felt like this was an event that we could win without losing a map, and we were able to do so. Now, Revenge put up a huge fight, but we were able to do so. So I felt really confident going into that event. Question number 14 comes from @iChemicals, who asks, how would you feel about an OpTic Gears house? I would love it. Question number 15 comes from @Joshua_Sanson7, who asks, what is the biggest challenge for you in your current role as a coach? The biggest challenge is probably having to work with players remotely. So it kind of ties back into the previous question. I feel like if everybody was under the same roof, it would be a lot easier for me to organize VOD reviews and then host those VOD reviews, or, you know, review like a scrim or a practice or a tournament, and possibly like adjust strategies and whatnot, because I would have everybody in the same room and be able to focus and hear out the discussion. Question number 16 comes from @OnyxGuard109_, who asks, what is your favorite character and weapon skin to use? Favorite character is probably Blacksteel Kate. Favorite weapon skin is, I like the green trippy skins. Those are probably my favorite skins, but you know, green wall. Question number 17 comes from @Chad_95, who asks, when it's clutch time, what's the first thing on your mind? I can do this. No, really, the first thing that comes to my mind is positioning. Like, am I in the right position? Can I pick up a kill? And where do I need to move to in order to do so? Because you kind of got to take it one person at a time. If you try to fight multiple people at once, it's probably not going to go well. Sorry, I poked myself. Question number 18 comes from @Troll408, who asks, what goes into play when the Gear squad loses a map? A certain type of training, film review? How do you handle it and prep forward? Good question, Troll. There is actually a video that you can go onto my YouTube channel, and it's a behind the scenes look at coaching with the OpTic Gear squad. I think it's titled something along those lines. So if you go to my past videos, you can check that out. I think I uploaded it this week or last week, depending on when you're watching it. This video, definitely last week actually, because this is Monday. So video is up there. Check it out. It's the majority of a discussion after a loss to E United, and you can hear basically how I handle a loss. Question number 19 comes from @XSwerve, who asks, do you play with default button layout? Yes. Question number 20 comes from @SASXShadows. Shout out to you, Shadows. Great content creator. If you don't know him, go check him out on YouTube. But he asks, do you think OpTic would ever recruit a Gears of War content creator like they have for Halo and Call of Duty? I see what you're doing there, Shadow. Hector's motto is, if it's the right decision at the right time, he'll go for it, or if the opportunity presents itself. Right now, with the size of Gears of War, like the difference is Halo and Call of Duty, well, and really mostly Call of Duty, because the Halo content creators are really just ex-players who stayed part of the OpTic wall or OpTic family, whatever. The Call of Duty had a big enough community and following that content creators are really, really successful. Look at Pomage in Call of Duty. In Halo, they're successful, but because they were retired pro players. In Gears of War, we're not quite there yet. Like, the only person who's really successful in that regards, in my opinion, would be Nick Merckx, and he doesn't even do Gears of War content. He's into, you know, Call of Duty. So maybe, but right now and in the close foreseeable future, it's not really the right opportunity, and I don't see one presenting itself. You know what I mean? Question number 21 comes from @Crashy, who asks, what roster change has been the most surprising to you, and do you have any ideas on a potential new super team? When Energy dropped Franco the other day, I was really surprised by that. Now, they have picked him back up since then, so, you know, that one is kind of reverted itself, but that was probably the most surprising one. I have heard potential Excels, Soto, Strangulate, and Crash. who played with Birdie and them, and then also played with Infinity at the show match. I've heard they are forming a team, and that could be a pretty good team. At least on paper, it's a pretty good team right now. So we'll see how that kind of clicks together. All right, guys, so now I'm going to read some questions from the comment section of last week's video. Make sure that if you have a question, you either write it down and save it for next week's video, or you go ahead and put it in the comments down below in this video. I definitely do check these and read these, so your voice does not go unheard. So we got a question from Dub Ace, or AYS, who asks, how did you get started coaching these guys? Did they approach you or the other way around? I actually approached them in terms of managing them, and then once they brought me on graciously to help them with that and sponsors and whatnot, I started giving my feedback and my advice towards them as, you know, my experience with coaching let me kind of have a good knowledge of that. And they were starting to accept it and realize that it could be helpful. And so I moved into a full-time coaching role with these guys. We have a question from BMK2K7 who asks, as a coach, do you ever worry about the game banning coaches like what happened in Counter-Strike? Not really, because in Counter-Strike, it was a different environment. In Counter-Strike, coaches were actually dictating the game in-game. So far as I know, there's no coaches that really do that for Gears of War, and it doesn't really make sense in my opinion. I mean, I can see that it's, you know, just, it's always been that way for Counter-Strike, but for most games that I'm familiar with, that's not really the case. So I think that my job is relatively safe in terms of the game banning coaches. And I think even if they did, for some reason, say coaches can't be on stage behind the players, obviously that sucks, but a lot of my work is also, you know, off the stage and helping them behind the scenes and preparing them and making sure that when we lose, we know what we did wrong to do better. And when we win, we know what we did right to keep doing that and stuff like that. So there's a lot more work than just being on the stage, which is, you know, counter to what most people think. We have a question from Ashley Press who asks, when Hex approached your team, what were your initial thoughts? Well, actually, Jay is the one who approached our team, and he was awesome. He was a really cool guy. I was honestly kind of nervous when I first talked to him, but I was also, you know, confident in our team, and, you know, I thought we would be a perfect fit. And after speaking to him, he thought we would be a perfect fit. And then that's when the full team had the meeting with Hector and Jay, and we all got to talk to each other on Skype. And Hector was a really cool guy. Like, from the moment we spoke, he tried like really hard to make us feel like welcome, even though we hadn't signed or anything. He was a really welcoming voice, especially as an owner. Like, he wanted to be there to be your boss and make sure that you are progressing in the right direction, especially, you know, as a part of his brand. But he's also there to be your friend and help you out when you need it. So that was a really cool experience, and it's always been that way every time we've interacted with him. We have a question from Boston Brad Sox 22 who asks, do you use a Scuf controller for Gears? I don't want to learn to claw to improve my game. How would you customize it for optimal Gears performance? Gears players with thumbs since Gal 1. I use a Scuf. I use the OpTic green wall Scuf. So make sure you go pick up yours. Use discount code OpTic. But I take the paddles off because I'm old school and I play on default. So you can use a Scuf, and that will help you be a better, you know, with your movement and stuff in the game. In terms of what to map the paddles at, I really don't know. But I will also say, if you don't want to go with a Scuf controller or an Elite controller, and you don't want to play claw, you could try out tournament settings, because that will help you have better movement. Basically, what your goal is to be able to do multiple functions at once, which you can't do with the current controller. Like, you're limited because your thumb has to control the stick and the buttons. But if you have the ability to hit these buttons at the same time as you're doing everything else, i.e. putting you know, your A button up here, then you can do everything at the same time. So I know that was kind of a weird demonstration, and I kind of didn't plan that out or any of this video out, but hopefully that helps you understand what I'm saying. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video, so I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, or if I did answer your question, or you like some of these answers, or if you're just bored and want to click a button, or if you're just feeling generous and want to click the like button. And make sure you let me know in the comments down below your questions for next week's video, because like I said, I do read them and I do answer them in the, you know, the following video. So make sure to do that, or save them and tweet them at me or DM me them when I ask for them on Twitter. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please click the subscribe button down below. I really appreciate the support on my channel, and you guys are blowing my mind with how much you are making my channel grow with every video. So thank you so much for that. And yeah, guys, I will see you all in the next video.